The technology sector is throwing up plenty of opportunities for investors, but it's not always clear-cut on how to invest without taking on a lot of risk. Here with me to discuss the issue is David Kirk from Bailador. Welcome, David.
Thank you. Good to be here.
No problem. So, to start with, could you explain how much of the index is made up through the tech stocks?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, actually. A lot of people don't know that the ASX 100 has 0.6% allocation to information technology, and the ASX 200 has 0.7%. So if you invest in the indices, the two main indices in Australia, you just do not get access to information technology. And that is completely different from a market like the United States. The S&P 500, which is a composite index from the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, delivers a 20% exposure to information technology stocks. And that's much more like what's going on in the real world and what's going on in the world around us. We feel information technology's influence on us, but we don't get exposure to it investing in Australian indices.
So that's some pretty astonishing figures there. And now I'm sure a lot of people are worried about the tech boom and the risk associated with that. Where exactly do those risks lie?
Well, risks always lie in buying something that's too expensive and having that value go down. So valuation is clearly an issue, but valuation really, you need to look through the valuation to understand the underlying quality of the business. And if possible, we may come on and talk to this later, in a Bailador context, you need to have protections for your principal invested. But we'll perhaps come back to that. But basically looking at the quality of the underlying business and having a specialist, an expert, do that for you, I think is the best way to manage risk in the first place. Okay, so that's how you'd minimise those risks. Okay, and then so finally, how or why is it best listing through Bailador in order to do all these things? Well, investing through Bailador, let's to explain exactly what Bailador is. Bailador is a listed information technology fund. So retail investors, self-managed super investors, institutions, of course, high net worths can all invest in information technology companies through Bailador. We invest only at the expansion stage, so we don't invest in startups and we don't invest in biotechnology. So just established companies with several $1 million worth of revenue, strong growth, great management, well-established markets and technology. So that's firstly a very important risk management to invest later in the stage. Secondly, you need to invest through a specialist, someone who really understands information technology. Otherwise, you're really just trying to pick things at random almost. Listed companies that come on the market, the neighbour or someone else tells you this is a great stock, but unless you can access it properly yourself, you're much better to get a specialist to do that, and that's where Bailador comes along. We've been doing it for more than 5 years now, and we've delivered a 22.7% compound return per annum over that period, so clearly we know what we're doing. Thirdly, and very importantly, because we're investing in private companies and then putting them into a publicly listed vehicle, but we're investing actually in private companies, we can get some very special protections. And in particular, we have seniority in the capital structure, which in these companies have no debt, so we're the top of the capital structure, which means we get our money out first. It's called a convertible preference shares. And we have a whole range of other minority protections, which mean that the company can only be run in a way that we've agreed it will be run. They can't take on debt or equity or other things without our agreement. So that's a big protection you couldn't get if you're investing directly into a company. And thirdly and finally, we invest in a portfolio of companies. So we've now got 6 companies in our portfolio. We expect that to go to 7 quite quickly. So you're getting exposure. Investors in Bailador Technology Investments, BTI is the ticker, are getting exposure to 6 and soon to be 7 companies, all of which have really strong growth characteristics, all of which have our special bespoke protections that we negotiate, all of them on which we go on the board and work with the company. So that's what Bailador does, and we're very focused, as you can see from that, on managing risk, but still giving investors exposure to all the upside from technology investing, which is definitely there. Excellent. Well, great. Thank you so much for discussing everything. You're welcome.
Cheers.